From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello, fine people. It's great to have you here. Thanks for tuning in to the Badass Counseling Show, where you are met with answers, questions, deep thoughts, deep issues, troubles in people's lives, and paths out of such troubles. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Sven Erlandson. I am the host of the Badass Counseling Show. And whether you are tuning in from Yugoslavia or the Yukon, Delaware to Donner Pass, all right, I am joined in studio by KC in the booth and Rocket Rob right next to me. Hello, Rob.
Hey, Sven, how are you? I'm feeling artificially intelligent today, but otherwise fine.
You need no such thing, sir. You are one of the smartest and kindest fellows that I've ever known.
I'd say you're a very good judge of character generally. I'm not sure right at this moment, but okay.
Rob, I've got a song in my head. I've got an earworm.
Let's have it.
Knowing me and knowing you. It's in my head. All right. That aside,
we don't have time for you to name the members of ABBA.
Oh, come on now. I can't do that. That was just, I like three other songs growing up, but never more than that. Take a Chance was like one of my favorite songs. So anyway, getting to work. We have a guest today with a story that we haven't covered yet. Tell us, Rob, if you would, about Sarina, please.
Happy to, Sven. And she wrote in and said, "Hi, Sven, I'm stuck in a place where my husband hasn't been grieving from the loss of his best friend. My husband and I are both military, and it's affecting our marriage. It seems like he enjoys being miserable, and it's weighing me down. We've done counseling and are just stuck."
Sarina, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Pleasure is completely ours. Well, let's get to work. You opened by saying, I'm stuck in a place where my husband has not been grieving from the loss of his best friend. How long ago, first of all, did his best friend die?
His best friend took his life March 1st of last year.
Is that when the troubles began in your relationship?
No. My husband and I, we have been married for 5 years, and we were stationed apart for 4 of those 5 years.
Oof.
So we've kind of been splitting our time, and that's caused communication issues within our marriage. But after my husband's best friend committed, that's really when, our life was hitting we dealt with a lot of traumatic things after that. Right after his friend committed, my uncle passed away. He was like a father figure to me. So that was within a week of the suicide. So, and then my husband ended up getting into some trouble, and yeah, it's been a rough year.
Okay. And I'm so sorry for that rough year. And actually, it's pretty darn close to a year and a half now. So the trouble started then, you said, not with the suicide of his best friend or his best friend. When would you say that, and you'd been apart for 4 years of your 5-year marriage, it's got to be just hell. It's got to be so freaking hard with the jealousies, the fears, trying to communicate. If you were to sort of pinpoint or get me in the ballpark of when the troubles started.
So honestly, in the beginning of our marriage, right when we got married, I was sent overseas. So he was in America, and we had bought a house because I thought I was going to come home. So he really started his life with his best friend, and I wasn't a part of it. So I think there was a lot of resentment and jealousy on my part, feeling like my husband was living our life without me. So I feel like definitely in the beginning.
And you felt jealousy because he was starting you guys' life without you. You said he started a life with his best friend. Gender of his best friend?
Male.
Huh. And so help me understand then, how did he start a life with his best friend?
Yeah. So my husband and I bought a home together, and his best friend ended up moving into the home with my husband. So I wasn't there. I was obviously overseas. And so it was almost like a bachelor house of him and his best friend just living their lives, and I wasn't a part of it.
And the thing that you were most jealous of, you said I felt jealousy. If you were to put into one sentence, what were you most jealous of?
They had a life together that I wasn't. Like, I had invested into this home, I had invested into this life, and I wasn't there. So it was like his friend was like his replacement wife. I called him the replacement wife because he was living as the wife while I was away.
And when you say the replacement wife, and when you say they had a life together, help me understand what you mean. How was it different than if they were best buddies and, you know, his best friend is living on base, but you guys are off base and you have a house or whatever? How was it different? What really is it that we're talking about? Is it just that there's somebody in my fucking house that I help pay for? Or
pretty much.
Okay. Or was it what they were actually doing? I mean, was it there? Help me understand when you say life together, what really are we talking about?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that, like, you know, they had deployed together. They were best friends. They did everything together, whether it be like cooking dinner together or, you know, going to the gas station at 3 o'clock in the morning because they had cravings. Like, they were best friends. They did everything together.
Okay. And how did that, apart from your jealousy, how did it impact his interactions with you? Would he, you know, not call? Was he negligent in taking time for you? How did it affect his actions towards you?
Yeah, it definitely, I felt like I was fighting for his time and his attention because he was with his friend, or he was, you know, living his life here, like whether it be going out, whatever they were doing. And I wasn't a part of it, and I wouldn't hear from him. So it definitely put a strain in our communication.
Wow. Yeah. And in a way, I personally, if I were in your shoes, I know I would feel like a little bit fucking taken advantage of if I'm paying for that house, if it's my house too, and you're over here fucking having a gay old time with your best friend, and I'm out on the other side of the world fucking working my ass off. What the fuck? And I got to wait for your calls, and you're not giving me. It's like, fuck you. I'd be pissed. I'd be hurt. I'd be pissed.
I would.
Yeah. And you said you wouldn't hear from him and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to say something really fucked up. Really fucked up. All right. How it's fucked up. Forgive me, but were you somewhat relieved when his best friend killed himself?
No, I wouldn't say so, because I feel like it put a lot of stress on me because I had to be the companion now. As much as I wanted to be the companion, it was like I had my own life going on. I had my own grievances. Like, I was grieving my family. My parents passed away a couple years ago, and I was grieving my uncle. So I really had to put a lot of attention on my husband.
And so you two were getting the time together, but not the kind of time you want if you're still a young couple. It's like heavy shit, and the best friend got all the fun times, and now you're brought in to do cleanup. It's like, what the fuck? That sucks.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that, but yeah.
Right? I mean, he got happy husband, and you got, you know, cranky, shut down, miserable, fucking, you know, dead inside husband. It's just like, yeah, how do you do that? How do you build a relationship when somebody's grieving the loss of their best friend that they just had the best 3 years of your marriage with?
Yeah, I never thought about it like that, but yeah.
And what specifically, put what you just said into one sentence, what specifically had you never thought about before? And it's okay that you've never thought about it before. That's fine. I just want to know, what specifically did you just sort of realize right now?
I never thought about the fact that he had the happy husband and I had the depressed husband.
Right.
I never thought about that.
Right.
But yeah, it makes total sense.
Yep. He had the happy husband, you got depressed one. And so when you then go on to say he's not grieving from the loss of his best friend, and it's like it seems like he enjoys being miserable. Yeah, he's depressed husband, and the way he's acting makes it seem like he wants to stay depressed, or at the very least, he's taking no action to become happy husband again, or to at least begin the process. I don't need you to be, it's almost like, would this be accurate or inaccurate? I don't need you to be a happy husband right now. I understand you're grieving. I'm still grieving the deaths of my parents and my uncle. I need you to fucking try, though, to begin the fucking grieving process. Would that be accurate or inaccurate?
Both. So, I mean, I would say he's done a lot of work. He has gone to a 6-week inpatient trauma therapy. He's in regular trauma therapy of his own for marriage counseling. But I just feel like he comes home and it's just shut off. Like, we work right next to each other. I go into his work and he's happy as can be. But when he comes home, he's just miserable.
If I'm hearing you correctly, then, formerly, when best friend was alive for the years that you were over in Europe, best friend got happy husband, and you got fucking cranky ass husband, and miserable husband, depressed husband, after the suicide, and now work gets happy husband. He puts in effort at work because, hey, it's work, and I gotta do my job, and I gotta da-da-da-da-da. But then I come home, and it's like, well, fuck, I don't have to do anything here. This is my home. I don't have to show up for you. I don't have to fucking try. I don't have to fix this shit. I don't have to make my marriage to you a fucking priority, even though, and so let me ask you this. So again, someone else is getting the best of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, you said you've been in marriage counseling since when? When did that start?
Oh my gosh. We've been going for the last 3 months.
Okay. And where's that at? I mean, how's it going?
Personally, I don't feel a connection with the therapist. I feel like the first 45 minutes of our sessions, he's talking about underlying emotions. And then the last 15 minutes, we're actually like, I wouldn't say it's underlying emotions. I think it's more about no, it's not what we're talking about here.
That's you talking, or that's the therapist talking?
That's him or me talking. I don't feel like underlying emotions is the entire problem.
What do you believe the entire problem is?
I think that we're two very different people from two very different backgrounds who are coming together in one marriage, trying to speak different languages. I feel like, I think the loss of his best friend was the first time that he really, truly felt trauma. For me, my parents died a couple years ago, and, my whole family's dead. I was adopted when I was younger, so my biological parents passed away when I was also very young. So I've dealt with a lot of loss, and he hasn't. So I think for him, knowing how to grieve is I don't know how to grieve. I just want to feel sad all the time. And for me, it's all right, another person died. Let's move on. I got a life to support.
So what, above all else, do you want from him? Put it in one sentence or less.
I think you said it perfectly. I want a happy husband.
And if you were to put a number on it, how long would you say you have been unhappy in your marriage?
This is going to sound extremely fucked up, but I would say 5 years.
The full duration of the marriage, basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 5 years of fucked up. And so let me ask you, where are you at inside yourself? You got the marriage counseling. He's doing trauma counseling. You're here with me. Where are you at?
I feel emotionally drained. I've lost all motivation, in my marriage, in my life. I feel confused about my next steps.
And let me ask you this. When you say confused about next steps, what's confusing?
Yeah, so my husband and I are both transitioning out of the military. Like, I'm in school, I'm looking at prospective jobs, and I don't feel like he's doing the same. Like, he doesn't have that same, like, you know, like 50-meter target, 100-meter target, 200-meter target. He doesn't have those targets. I feel like I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see his steps clearly. So it's hard to map my life around it.
Right. And in the past, you have mapped your life around it, would you say? Or in the past, the two of you have mapped a life together?
I feel like I've probably mapped my life. I feel like we've mapped our lives separately.
Separately. And so whose map came first, and then whose map was sort of figured out based on the other person choosing first?
My husband's map came first.
Right.
And then we had all this fuckery happen. And then my map.
Why for you did your husband's map come first? Forgive me, and this may not be accurate. Why'd you let him set the tone, set the agenda, choose the map first?
I think I had this expectation of him providing for our family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing now that I'm going to have to kind of step up and be more of a provider.
Well, but that doesn't quite answer my question. The question was, why did you let him sort of make the opening play about the direction and the map for us, and then you come in second? Why is that? Why was it his map and then your map versus two maps at the same time? Two maps separately, or your map first? Why did he have the opening play on mapping you guys' future?
Honestly, I feel like I wanted him to lead.
Okay.
And I was like, honestly, it could be because of my pure laziness to not want to take that initiative to plan my life, plan our life.
All right. My laziness and not wanting to take the initiative. Let's play with an idea here, Sarina. Is it possible that it wasn't laziness? Is it possible that we're just playing with the possibility that it was fear? I fear taking the initiative. I fear leading. Let's play with it. And it may not be this, but if it were fear that caused you to, well, what do you want? If it were fear, what might that fear have been?
Fear of losing stability, maybe.
Losing stability. Help me understand. Why would you putting what you want out there just as equal to what he wants, why would that cause a loss of stability?
I feel like I don't trust my own judgment.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. And so then what's the fear? You're giggling a bit, all right. And so what would the fear then be if I don't trust my own judgment? The fear that if I put my nuts out there and stand up for what I want and put my wants as equal to his, my fear is that what?
We're going to lose everything. I don't know. I think the biggest thing I'm scared of is if I make the wrong decision or if I fail in any aspect of our life or in my life, I lose a roof over my head, the financial stability. Like, I know it's really not that, like, it sounds so minuscule.
No.
Like, it's not that big of a thing, but it's huge things to me. Like, I grew up not having that.
You didn't have the stability, and you have it now. And so I'm going to try to put it into words. You feared, if I'm hearing you correctly, you feared, gosh, if I put out there what I want and what I think is best, and I'm wrong, I could lose everything. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, sir.
And is the fear losing, it was the ultimate fear back when you first allowed him to choose the first steps on the map or put out his map first and you sort of deferred to that and then put yours sort of around his. Was the fear that if shit goes south, the ultimate fear, was it losing everything or was it ultimately losing him?
This is going to sound fucked up, but I don't feel scared of losing him.
No, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Was the fear, and maybe it wasn't. Maybe that wasn't the fear, but say it. What was your fear ultimately 5, 6 years ago that caused you to defer to him? Yeah?
Having that option to change my mind is something that I don't think I've had. So
All right. Well,
I appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome. Because the truth is, I want every single one of my clients to change their mind. I want you to change your mind. Why? Because if you're changing your mind later, assuming you're doing it from a place of integrity, that shows that you've actually wrestled with your former answer. You felt it. You thought about it. You've seen how it feels on my skin and in my gut. And it's like, no, Sven, that doesn't quite feel right. I've spent a little more time with my answer, and it's actually more this. Well, then if you change your mind, that says you've got a better answer that is more you. But if you feel hidebound, well, I said it was this, I have to say it, well, that's fucked. What if you realize, no, it's not any good. I want to change this is a better answer. I want you to change your mind. My goal is to help you find you. My goal is to help you hear your fucking voice and have the courage to stand on it. So I want you to change your mind. Now, we still haven't gotten the answer, so hold on here. The question was...
What did I fear? Did I fear losing him?
Okay, and before you answer that, we're going to take a brief break.
My wife pushed me to watch this guy's TikTok videos, so I finally caved in, and holy crap, blew me away. I started watching more, and every time he opens his mouth, I get blown away in a whole new way. So I finally bought his book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. To say I got an ass kicking is an understatement. Much needed. It was like having my own personal tough therapist who just gets it. So go do yourself a favor. Get There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It's powerful stuff.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
Sarina, we are back. And your answer to the question of, was the ultimate fear back then, the fear of, you'd said, losing everything. You know, I didn't have stability and so forth growing up, and I feared losing everything, and that's why I let him make the first play in sort of mapping out his future, and then I would plan around him. Was it that you feared losing everything as in the stuff and the sense of security the stuff and the path gave you, or was it ultimately that you feared losing him?
I feel like I made an internal commitment to our marriage and to myself that, like, I have a tendency to run away, and I didn't want to do that. I was committed to this life now. Like, I made a decision to be married to him, to start my life with him. I'm committed to it now.
Doesn't answer the question. What was the fear? You let him map first. We were looking at this idea of whose map would be the initial play of mapping out the future of your marriage. And the reason we're looking at this question is because we started with this notion that you're confused about what's ahead. And I want to know what happened in the past, okay? And that's why we're looking at the beginning of the relationship. And I asked you, was it that you feared losing everything as you stated, or was it ultimately that you feared losing him? And then you answered just now, I made an internal commitment. I tend to run, basically, if the shit gets hard or whatever. And so I made an internal commitment to stay, but that doesn't tell me which you feared most. Why? Because you said, I let him choose first. And I asked, well, if there was a fear, what was the fear driving the behavior that caused you to not put your wants out there as equal, but to put his out there as first? And this is a central question for a lot of people other than just you. So I want to know, if there was a fear there, which was the greater fear? Losing the stuff and the stability the stuff gave you that you had never had before growing up, or was it ultimately I feared losing him, and so I deferred out of fear that I might fuck up, but if he chooses, then I have less of a chance of losing him? Him.
Yeah.
All right. And just for clarity's sake, what percent did you fear losing him, and what percent did you fear losing the stuff?
70-30.
70 him, 30 the sense of stability. So then it stands to reason then, doesn't it, that the real stability you wanted was the person, that having him gave you a greater sense of stability. And would that be accurate or inaccurate?
It's accurate.
All right. And so the stability you were seeking was the stability of what? having someone that loves me and is with me sort of no matter what?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's fair. And you're not alone in that. All right. That's a whole lot of people. I literally just had a client yesterday. We had this exact same conversation. We're very close.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, actually. Just out of curiosity, Sarina, how old are you?
I'm 26.
26. Great. Life's just beginning. And it may not feel like it, but it really is. You got so much life ahead of you. You really, really do. And it's going to be a great one. I don't doubt that. And there's no life that's free of hiccups and hurdles and frustrations and fall downs and fuck ups. And so you're in the middle of this one and it's hard. And so let me ask you this then. And you said that I tend to not, trust my own voice. And so I was hoping in this case, separate issue, that I would get the stability of the person who would love me forever, which seems to imply you didn't have that before.
Mm-hmm.
Did you not get that growing up?
No, sir.
No. Okay.
Did not.
And so biological parents put you up for adoption. Adoptive parents made you feel what above all else? If not loved, then what?
So my dad did. My mom, she openly admitted later in my life that she adopted my brother and I for the financial benefit. Yeah. So it was like this an internal, like, I can tell that you don't love me. I don't know if you love me. You treat me like shit and then you treat me good. I don't know. Do you love me? Do you not? And then later on in my life, when I joined the military, she was just like, all right, have a nice life. I disown you.
Wow.
And then she came back later when I got my inheritance money for my dad's passing. And then she wanted to be back in my life.
What a fucking bitch. What a fucking money grubbing bitch. Unbelievable.
Yep. And then
go ahead.
My husband, he was like, well, look, I don't trust this. Like, I think that, your mom has really bad intentions. And I was like, no, but it's my mom. I love her. And then he was like, look, just don't let her touch it. He was like, you can put all your money away. I won't see it. I won't touch it, but make for damn sure she doesn't touch it. So I listened to him and I made sure she didn't touch it. And then she sent me a message, right as I was going overseas. Like, I was literally on the plane going overseas. And she's like, I no longer want to be a mother or daughter, or I no longer want to be a mother or friend to you. And then blocked my number. And I haven't heard from her since.
And that was how long ago?
It was 3 years ago.
And just out of curiosity, what had you said to her, or what was the cue that she got that she wasn't getting money from you?
She wanted me to send it to her so she could document it for tax purposes, but
unbelievable.
It was already pre-tax, which I didn't think about. And I told her, I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I don't need to document it for tax purposes. And she was like, I'm your mother. You don't trust me?
Wow. The level of graft. Unbelievable. So I have to ask, how did you feel? When she told you, I adopted you and your brother basically for financial reasons. How did that feel? Give me a feeling word.
If you could feel the worst pain in the world, like a sucker punch, I don't even have the word. The absolute worst pain.
Okay. And so how did you feel? What was the dominant feeling? Even if you just go with the basic. Disappointment. And disappointment that what? Put it into one sentence. Disappointment that what?
The one person that I'm supposed to trust, I can't.
Would it also be safe to say, not just the one person I'm supposed to trust, and I believe trust is king, but the one person who's supposed to love me doesn't?
Yeah.
I'm just a tool for her pocketbook.
Yes, sir.
I matter so little to her. And then when she confirmed it with her actions, when you're on the fucking plane to go overseas, how did that feel? Because you had hope. You had let her back into your life, or you were, not let her back in so much, but you were, and how did that feel?
I felt like another parent died. Like I felt like I had to grieve another person in my life.
Right. And just out of curiosity, did you?
I don't believe I have. No.
Did you grieve the death of your biological parents? Did you grieve the death of your adoptive father? Did you grieve the death of your adoptive mother? Did you grieve the death of your uncle?
I feel like I grieved the loss of my biological parents. I didn't really have a connection to them. My mother was a heroin addict and just a horrible person. I'm a prostitute. I'm the product of prostitution, which now I think is really funny, but that's fucked up.
Well, for what it's worth, I think you're a lovely person. So prostitute, that is a new term for me, and you are the finest prostitute I've ever met. So the grieving the deaths of your biological parents was sort of an easy one. Death of your adoptive dad, did you touch the pain?
For sure. Obviously, I went through a lot of therapy, and I honestly had to learn the biggest thing was to forgive myself for how I treated him. I think that when I was younger, I didn't treat him the best. I was also 13 years old,
Yeah.
But that's not an excuse. So I had to forgive myself and realize that, I don't think he would want me to hurt anymore.
Well, yeah. And the truth is, being 13 years old is not an excuse. It's just a perfectly logical reason. Nobody expects a 13-year-old to be nice all the time. A 13-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl says stupid shit that they later regret, but everybody assumes that's what, it's okay. You're 13. That's what we expect a 13-year-old to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
You can hardly beat yourself up over that, but nonetheless, you felt the guilt, and that's okay. And so, adoptive mom dies.
Okay, she didn't die. She exited my life, and I consider it a death. So I say died.
Got it. And just out of curiosity, if you were to put on a scale, how much do you hate her?
5.
5%?
I don't hate her. I have a lot of, not 5%. I would say probably it's a low percent.
Why?
I feel.
Why do you think? Why is it you feel bad for her? That's great, and so on and so forth. I'm wanting to understand. I'm sorry, but somebody fucking tries to take my money. Somebody tells me they don't love me, that they were just using me for the money. I'm so hurt and I'm so wounded. Yet I'm also full of fucking rage. It's like, you motherfucker, you fucker. And then when I didn't share the inheritance, you were working me. You were fucking working me to get the money, you fucking piece of shit. Now, that's just me. But if somebody tries to jerk me around, praise on my love for them. Praise on it. I would feel betrayed. I would feel so much rage. Rob, can I ask you for a reality check? What would you feel? And there's no right or wrong here, Sarina. I'm not trying to pressure you much. Rob, what would you feel?
If you are adopted only for the money, what could go wrong?
Okay, so how would you feel if you found out?
Just as filled with rage as you just described.
And if you then found out when the inheritance comes around that she's scamming you for the money, how would you feel, Rob?
Exponentially more filled with rage.
Fair enough. Thank you. Now, maybe KC would say differently. I'm not going to pull her up on the microphone because she hates it when I surprise her like that. But let me ask you then. You said you feel sorry for her. Let me ask you an odd question. What percent of your childhood in the home of your adoptive mother, and you were how old when she adopted you?
I was 2.
What percent of your childhood from 2 to roughly 18 was about her feelings? And what percent was about your feelings and your wants and needs?
80%. It was like...
Which? Wait. 80% yours or 80% hers?
80% hers and 20% mine.
And then you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
She kicked me out when I was 12. So when I was 12 years old. Yeah.
She kicked you out when you were 12. Go ahead. When I was 12 years old, what?
So my parents, literally right after she adopted my brother and I, she divorced my dad. She got with another man, went off with him. And when I was 12, I I came home I went going to my dad's house, and I came home and all my stuff was on the front porch. And she was like, I don't want her anymore. You can have her.
To whom? To whom? To your dad?
To my dad.
Okay.
To my dad, yeah. So I lived with my dad. Mind you, my dad is 100% blind. Like, I know this story sounds like weird. It's weird. But my father was an incredible person. He started an organization in our hometown called Disability Awareness Starts Here. It's an organization that helps disabled people basically function in society.
And so your life with Dad was?
My life with Dad is great.
Okay.
You know?
How did it feel when Mom threw you out of her house?
Betrayal.
Right. Just out of curiosity, and you were 12 when that happened, were you angry?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think above all else? So you said 80% of my childhood was about Mom's wants, feelings, and needs. So you were conditioned very early that your life is not about your wants, needs, and feelings, correct?
Correct.
Right. It's logical. And so then, and what would happen if Mom didn't get her way, or if Mom's wants, needs, feelings weren't considered? What would generally happen?
There was a lot of passive aggressive digs.
Okay.
It was mostly passive aggressive digs, and then aggression, not physically, but like throwing TVs out the window, smashing windows, shit like that.
Okay, so Mom had a bit of crazy going on in her, and rage and all that. Would it be reasonable to say that you grew up afraid of your mother?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Afraid of your mother. So we've got a little girl afraid of her mother, a little girl getting the message that her wants and needs don't matter. So then when it came time to make your own decisions, such as, let's say, going into the military or what to do after high school or anything, did you sort of seek other people's advice, or did you make your own decisions and feel good about your own decisions? Did you feel confidence?
No, sir. I always went to other people.
Right. So do you see the sequence here then? So you're conditioned by Mom that her wants, needs, feelings matter 80%, yours matter 20%, if that. And if you fuck up, if you choose wrongly, you're going to get the whirlwind shitstorm of her digs and her aggression and the throwing of TVs out the window and whatever other psycho bitch she could fucking pull on children and just unleash her rage in every direction. So isn't it reasonable that a little girl or a little boy or both would be terrified to say or do pretty much anything?
Yes, sir.
Right. So then isn't it reasonable, even though Dad, you're with Dad later after the fact, but he's blind, and so you have to grow up and be kind of fucking responsible, I'm betting, more, you had to, sort of toughen up and sort of, pitch in and so forth. So again, well, let me ask you, in your relationship with your dad, what percent of the relationship was about dealing with a blind father? In other words, what percent role did his blindness play in your home after age 12?
Probably like 40. I know that's a small amount, but he was so self-sufficient.
So if he was so self-sufficient, then what was your life? If you didn't have to do a lot of taking care of him, then what became of you after age 12, from age 12 to, say, age 18? Sum it up.
So from 12 to 15, that's when I lived with my dad until he passed away.
And did you sort of flourish during those years, or what?
Oh, no. I was living well beyond my years. I was living like I was 16, 17 when I was 12.
And what does that mean?
I was going out, sneaking out, partying, I was smoking marijuana, drinking.
Okay. And so let me ask you then, after 15, what happened? You went back to live with Mom?
Yep. So my mom ended up taking me in, and she moved us into a 11-foot RV in the city so that my brother could go to college.
I see. And so three of you living in an 11-foot long RV. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
Sir.
Okay. And so then basically from age 12 to 18, 12 to 15, it's rebellion, it's partying, it's checking out. I don't give a shit. Fuck it. I just want to party. I just want to make my problems fucking go away. And then 15 to 18 was what? Basically, I was doing what with my life?
I was living with my mom in a trailer, going to high school and just trying to get out of the house as much as I could.
So stay away.
Or out of the trailer.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I guess basically, and then you enlisted right away after high school. Is that right?
No, sir. So she kicked me out when I was 18. Came home and all my stuff was on the front porch. Trendy, right? And I moved in with the neighbor. The neighbor was a 50-year-old woman who was like, you know what? Like, come live with me. And she basically taught me how to be an adult.
Okay.
And I was working in the car business. And then I got tired of not being able to survive very well. So I joined the military.
Okay. Basically what you told me, as I mentioned, is 80% of your life growing up was about mom's wants, needs, feelings. For the first 12 years, it's reasonable to assume that when you went back to live with her from 15 to 18, she hadn't undergone some massive transformation of character. That it was still the same thing. It was still all about her. And I just need to get the fuck out of here and get away from you. Isn't that basically it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So again, you're still getting that message then that your wants, needs, feelings don't matter. And
yes,
as we already established, when you're younger, if I choose anything, I could get yelled at. I'm physically afraid. Even though she's not physically aggressive, you talk about her breaking shit. Well, that is physical aggression. And so, and a child very easily can become scared. Your mom big, me small, me scared. You know, makes total sense, actually. And I'm sure your brother was scared too. So here we are then. And so we come to you now at age 26 and you say you're confused. And we already...
Makes sense now.
Exactly. Right. And we already established that in the beginning of your relationship, you allowed him to lay out his map first and then you plugged in. And why would a person do that except it was the safe play? You're always responding to, reacting to the dominant force. In fact, you would prefer, I'm willing to bet, old you at least, old Sarina has always preferred to have a dominant force because you know how to operate in that system. You've lived your whole life responding to the dominant force. You've lived your whole life in fear of initiating or leading or standing up because that would be fucking scary. The risk is so fucking high. And it's not just, gee, I could lose everything. I could get thrown out. I could lose more than just the stuff and a roof over my head. I could lose my love source. Your love source. And then Dad actually became a wonderful love source, but he died. And so then all of a sudden life's very tenuous. It's just like, oh, fuck, man. And so right now then, if you're feeling confused, of course you are. I have to believe, let me ask you, what % of the confusion in this state, this stuck state you are in with your husband and saying, you know, I made an internal commitment to this marriage and I used to tend to run and all that. So on one hand, you feel this strong sense of commitment, but on the other hand, you're fucking miserable. And running through all of it is, I'm just fucking terrified of doing life without someone to sort of, forgive me, tell you what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that feel? Because that's pretty strong language. How does that feel when you hear me say that?
I wouldn't say desperate, but I feel disappointed in myself.
Because?
I'm codependent on someone else.
Sure. But do you understand how you got to be this way? How you got here?
Yes, sir.
Right.
I understand.
Right. And so remember earlier when we were talking about, you know, you had to, the biggest thing in your father's death was you had to forgive 13-year-old you for being a little shit and treating your dad poorly. And the truth is, and Rob and I look at each other and we're like, dude, you were 13. That's what 13-year-olds do. You need to go fucking easy on yourself, all right? And you said you had already forgiven yourself. So we're saying that after the fact. But what I'm saying to you in this case is it's sort of the same thing. You're feeling, stupid or bad or dumb or whatever for, becoming codependent, for giving away my power, for wanting some dominant force that I could sort of follow, and you feel stupid or you feel weak or you feel whatever you feel. And I'm saying, given where the fuck you came from, isn't it sort of understandable?
The biggest thing that like I have a problem with, and I mean, no offense to anyone, I really don't, but I never want to fall into a victim mentality.
Wait a minute. I get that. That's cool. Let me ask you a question. If a big, strong guy were to come over, whether it's on the playground in 6th grade or whether it's in real life at a bar, at the fucking NCO lounge on base, and some big strong guy, or let's say off base so there's less ramifications, some big strong guy comes over and just kicks the living shit out of some little guy who's not some kung fu master or whatever, but just kicks the shit out of him. What do we call that big guy in that situation? A bully, right. Total douche, fuckhead, any number of words, but basically a bully. What do we call, whether it's 6th grade or in a bar, what do we call the smaller guy?
The victim. Not the victim, but,
isn't that
the little guy.
Right, but isn't that precisely what it is? Let me ask you this. If I have a woman on the show, we're going to go full-on cliche here, and I apologize to my listeners, we're going to go male-female cliche here. If I have a woman on my show and she's been beaten by her husband, we call him an abuser. What do we call her?
A victim.
Is she a victim? Is she a victim?
Yes.
Oh, so there are victims.
Yeah.
Oh, let me ask you this. When you were a fucking 8-year-old snot-nosed kid like every other wonderful, cute, creative, smart, playful, rambunctious, ornery, snot-nosed, 8-year-olds. Every 8-year-old is wonderful and silly and whatever. Were you a victim of a highly insensitive, raging woman who was fucking out of control and a person of almost immorality, just lack of morality? Were you a victim of her? Were you terrified? You already said yes. Were you a victim of her? Yes or no?
Oh, I hate saying it, but yes.
Why do you hate it? Yes. If it's just fucking true. If your husband were punching you in the face every day, would you hate saying, yes, I'm literally a victim?
Yes. I hate saying,
Why? Why do you hate it so much? What's the fear that if I admit that literally I was an 8-year-old child, I was a 12-year-old child who was a victim of a raging bitch of a mom and a husband and a father who didn't fucking protect me by stopping her? Yeah. Why do you so loathe speaking the truth?
I was always told that, if I did, that I was a liar, or I wasn't. I don't know. I feel.
Wait, you were told were told that if you said those things, you were a liar? You were told that by your mom?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a couple of things going on here then. You're not allowed to admit the truth because your mom would shame you because she didn't want you thinking that. She didn't want to look bad, so she's manipulating the truth. But technically that's different from saying I was a victim.
Yeah.
Is it so in this case, is the real problem that you don't want to state what mom actually did because she is basically still controlling your actions? Or is it some grand aversion to quote unquote being a victim?
Again, it goes back to I feel sorry for her. I really do.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Because your whole life you were conditioned to make her feelings 80% and your feelings 20%. This fucking bitch, immoral bitch of a person. And I'm sorry, all the shit that she has done to you, I feel quite comfortable calling her an immoral bitch. She, above all else, she put an override switch into you. And the override switch fundamentally says, once you start to feel bad for yourself, the override switch gets flipped on, and now you got to go back to feeling bad for her. You were a victim. You were a fucking child. And if you have more interaction with children, you are going to realize how fucking innocent children really are. And she had all the power. And you grew up afraid of her, and you feel more bad for her than you do for that child? You're re-victimizing that child by not giving that child her voice and her feelings, what she really felt. You are fundamentally saying to that child, The old broad is right, and you're wrong, little peckerhead. Toughen up. That's what you're saying. You are denying and packing down, whether because you don't want to touch it or because mom's got you still conditioned, she still fucking owns you, that you are putting her fucking feelings before your fucking feelings. You were a child. You were a 13-year-old child later. You were a 17-year-old child. And trust me when I tell you, when you get to my age, 57, when you get to Rob's age, when you get to KC's age, when you get to fucking 40, you'll realize how young 17 really is.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, why the fuck are you so conditioned to not want to be so worried about her feelings? Oh, I feel bad for her. Sure, you feel bad for her, but what about that kid? What about all the shit you've had to eat at her hands? What about that? What about that person's feelings? Because I got news for you. I got 3 people sitting in the studio. I don't even need to check in with Rob on this. I don't need to check in with KC on this. Every single one of us is like, oh, I want to fucking kill your mom. Now, that may be a bit much for Rob, but it's a saying. We hate her. We feel bad for the kid, but you don't. Why do you so want to forgive your mom and let her off the hook and understand? Why?
I know her story.
Who gives a shit? She hurt a fucking child.
She was a hurt child at one point.
That doesn't excuse it. That's like saying, I'm going to punch my wife in the face every day because when I was a kid, my old man or my mom punched me in the face. Hey, I'm off the hook. No, you're a goddamn adult. Do better. You're a goddamn adult, and you know that hurting a child is wrong, and you choose it anyway. You are excusing her behavior. And the truth is this, if you excuse her behavior, you're going to excuse all sorts of shit when it comes to having your own child.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no shit. Because, hey, it's okay. I had a shitty childhood. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can use you, child, to get my own emotional needs met. I can tell you to fuck off, little boy. I can do whatever I want because, hey, I had pain as a child. And you're going to do it. Until you allow origins to be what origins are, until you are willing to name wrong when it is wrong, you're going to repeat the same goddamn pattern maybe in a different way. I'm just going to do the opposite of whatever my mom did. Yeah, guess what? The opposite of shit really most of the time ends up being shit itself because you're still responding to her. She's still running your life. You're just doing the opposite of her. You're waiting for your cue from her, just like you're waiting for your cue from your husband right now. You're confused because you're waiting for him to sort of decide, are you going to fix it? Are you going to fix it? Are you going to fix it? You get more and more miserable because he doesn't give a fuck. He's saying, no, I'm not. How much more do I have to do to prove to you I don't care about your fucking feelings? I'm going to come home and be miserable. Now, you've normalized death because you've had to endure so much of it. And for you, it's just like, let's get to business. I don't want to fucking touch it. Fuck off. Plus, I didn't really like your fucking best friend, or I liked him, but he stole my fucking husband. So somewhere in me, it's like, yeah, whatever, fuck him. Let's move forward. Let's work on us. And he's like, I'm miserable. You said it yourself. He's never had death before. He's fucking grieving. This was the loss of the person who was closest to him, even though you should have been closest to him. And he lost it. He doesn't know his ass from his elbow. And he's miserable, and he's likely going to be miserable for years. If he's moving this slow on his grieving, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody grieves at a different speed. But your misery is going to increase. His shit is not going to magically heal itself. Grief doesn't magically fucking heal. And you're ready to move on, and you want a fucking marriage, and you're fucking miserable, but you're confused. And the real reason you're confused isn't because you don't know what you want. The real reason you're confused is because you lost your voice a long time ago because your fucking mom stole it and your dad didn't stand up for you. And here you are saying, yeah, but mom had pain. I don't give a fuck. She stole your fucking voice. And that is playing out right now at age 26. You're terrified to stand up. You're terrified of being alone. You're terrified of being truly alone and starting life over. And guess what? 90% of the people that listen to this show have the exact same fear. You're not alone. It's fucking scary. It's fucking scary. And I completely understand. And so you're holding on. You committed. You know, I always used to need to run, but you know, I'm internally committed. And so let me ask you this question. Those are your words. Let me ask you this question. What would it take for you to give yourself permission if the day were to come? I'm not saying it will. I mean, if I were betting, I'd bet, yeah, if it's not only coming, it probably already came and went. But that's just my bet. Nobody's giving me odds, so I don't have anyone to bet with on that. But let me ask you this. What's it going to take? How much longer can you keep this shit up before you allow yourself to break that internal commitment?
I think if I were to have a child, then you hurt my child.
What?
If I were to end up having a kid with him, like if, and you hurt my child, that would be it.
Oh, fair. And I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. So in other words, I am stuck with this guy forever if he never hurts a child. I am stuck in this fucking misery. If he chooses to never do the fucking healing work, doesn't matter. I'm here. I'm committed. I'm going to stay with it no matter what, no matter how fucking miserable he is, no matter how much good energy he gives to a best friend or work or his new best friend or whatever, I'm staying in it no matter how miserable I am. Am I hearing you correctly?
That's how I feel right now. Yeah.
That's fair. And that's fair. And if you choose that, it's your life. You get to do whatever the hell you want. You can choose that if you want to. Okay?
Yes.
But then I find myself wondering, then what's the confusion? The fuck do you need me for? If you know what you're going to do, and that is, I am going to stay under all circumstances unless he hurts, if we have a child and he hurts a child. Otherwise, I'm in it. So what's the fucking confusion?
I don't want to be miserable.
I don't want to be miserable because being miserable sucks. So let me ask you this. Do you believe that it's possible to heal yourself and do all your healing work, which I believe it is, but the question is, do you believe it's possible for you to be happy? You can heal yourself and do all the work of healing the shit from the past, which, by the way, is going to require you acknowledging that you were a victim of a dominant power source that fucking took advantage of you, hurt you, and made you live in sheer terror. And if you can't bring yourself to admit that that child was a fucking victim, yeah, good luck on the fucking healing. But anyway, but that doesn't mean you live in it forever. It means acknowledging that your shit was real and that your feelings were real so that you can finally get all those feelings out, because she stuffed your feelings down. Your feelings were never safe. So by you acknowledging that what was done to you was real and painful, it gives you freedom to unlock all those feelings and finally get them out of you. That's healing. Okay, but here we go. Even if I could help you heal, or you could have had a great therapist who helped you heal, or you read my book and that with your therapy and you healed yourself, you're still in a context. You're in a relationship with someone who isn't interested in healing at this point, who is grieving. And for all we know, I mean, some people grieve for decades. They literally do. That they hold on to it, or it's their identity, or they feel the guilt, or they feel like if I stop grieving, it means I didn't really love him or her or whatever. So let me ask you this. How, even if you could heal yourself of all your past pain, how happy would you be capable of being in a relationship where your husband is not happy husband and where he's not basically giving love to you? How happy could you be?
You can't be happy.
Okay.
I don't think you can.
So then what you're saying is I don't want to be miserable, you said, but what you're saying is in order for me to be happy then, even if I do all the healing work on myself, I still can't be happy because I'm with a husband that is miserable or is still grieving and depressed and it's sucking the life out of me. So basically what you're saying, the only possible way that you can be happy, even if you do all the work on yourself, is that he has to change.
Yeah.
Okay. And over the course of 5 years of your marriage, what percentage has he, and particularly in the last year and a half, what percentage has he indicated a desire to change? A desire manifest in action, a willingness and active work, real work towards changing. What percent is his pattern, openness and willingness and eagerness to change?
60-40.
60%.
60 working it, and then 40, I call it the victim mentality. Sure. I know I hate that word, but I do.
Yeah. He's a victim of death. And when you have someone close to you die, it hurts, just like it hurt when your adoptive father died. It hurt, didn't it?
Yeah. And the way he handled it had been by hurting me.
Well, see, now that's a new wrinkle, and we don't have time to go into all that. But yeah,
oh, please don't.
No, but that's the point. You have to go into that. That if you're avoiding looking at the real shit, you ain't gonna heal, kid. You ain't gonna ever fucking heal if you just keep avoiding the real fucking shit. All right. No.
Yeah.
So, and there's more of your fucking conditioning right there that you're fucking almost wanting to gloss over and not look at because you've been so conditioned to justify a woman doing that your entire life. Because of her pain, she took it out on me, but I understand because of her pain. Hey, I'm not a victim. No, you were. She was an asshole and she took her pain out on you. And now because it's so normal for you, and you're so used to that, you know how to deal with someone like that, you're allowing him to do it to you. And yes, I am saying allowing. Why? Because you're staying.
Yeah.
You're staying. You're staying when someone is taking their hurt out on you and making you hurt. Why are you staying with someone who is hurting you deliberately?
I'm scared to leave.
And the single biggest thing you're most scared of in leaving is what? In one sentence or less, what are you most scared of in leaving?
Losing the stability.
Losing the stability, you said?
The home, my dogs, the life that we've built.
Right, which sucks, doesn't it? The life you've built.
Yes, sir.
Right. So I'm afraid of losing something that sucks. But at least
I
it's
don't hate my
something.
dogs.
No. And let me ask you, and we're just playing with an idea, if you two were divorced, would you kill the dogs?
Absolutely not.
Oh, no. So somebody would get the dogs.
He would.
Why is that exactly?
I would have to probably move back into the barracks and he would keep the house.
Why exactly?
He's higher ranking than me.
Wait. Who is it? A base house? You don't actually own the house, or you do own the house?
We own the house.
And
But
is it two names on the lease or one name on the lease?
Two.
So your name is on the lease, his name is on the lease. By what magic does he get the house because he's higher ranking?
Since I'm not an E6, I would have to move into the barracks, and because I can't receive BAH or BAS, and since he's an E6, so E6 and above gets BAH and BAS.
Right, but that still doesn't explain why your signature is no longer on the deed of the fucking house, on the title.
I couldn't pay for it. I couldn't pay for it because I'd be considered a single soldier at that point.
You couldn't pay for it, but you would still be part owner if you could pay for it, right?
I would take my name off.
You would just give it to him.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I couldn't afford it. I can't.
Do you understand how your name on that title right now is leverage?
No.
Okay. What I would encourage you to do before you make any decision is consult with someone who knows the fucking law. Consult a fucking lawyer, because it sounds like you think you do, but I'm betting you may not know it fully. You may not know fully your rights.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking American rights. I'm saying even under the UCMJ, you have rights. And the rights, while yes, he may be higher ranking, it's not like the rights of the lower ranking are disposed of or you have no rights. You would be wise to consult someone in the JAG. You would be wise to consult someone before you start thinking, I would lose everything, et cetera, et cetera. And I would not give those up because it sounds like he might be happy to take it. And so I have one question for you, and it's simply this. So what is the question now? We've gone over time longer than I really ever go with anyone. I'm
sorry.
curious. No, this isn't your fault. Fuck that. Fuck it. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't want to. I want to know, I want you to be honest with me and tell me what your question is for me. I want to know what's still eating at you. What's the question that you most want an answer to?
Should I stay or should I go?
And I want to answer by asking you this question. If you were to close your eyes, and I want you to close your eyes, there's nothing to see here. It's just my ugly mug on the screen here. So just close your eyes and take a deep breath. Okay. Knowing that you have full permission to change your mind tomorrow or a month from now, what, at least in this moment, feels right? Should you stay or should you go? What feels right to you? If you were to just, you don't even have to ever act on it, but what is your inner voice saying?
Go.
With what percent certainty is that voice saying go? It's okay to have doubt and all that, but what percent do you know you need to go?
80.
80, right. Now, here's what you need to do. You need to take your time. There's no rush. That I'm betting that is the first, probably the clearest insight you've had on that fucking question in some time after this, realizing I 80% need to go. Okay, you're going to have so much doubt. You're going to have so many questions. You're going to question yourself. Why? Because you've been conditioned to question yourself your whole fucking life. What you need to be doing is you need to be actively engaged in journaling your fucking ass off. Now, and wherever it's going to be safe, all right? If you're going to do it on your computer, and some people like to do that because they can type faster, do it in an encrypted file and make sure that the computer you're doing it on, he is not part owner of. Okay? Or if you're doing it on paper, make sure those papers are fucking safe, or just fucking burn them or shred them or flush them, whatever. If you keep them, you want to keep them fine, just make sure they're safe. But you need to be about the job of flushing out your feelings. You need to be about the job of writing letters to him that you don't send, getting out more and more. You need to write some fucking letters to your mother that you don't send. Mm-hmm. And you need to begin to find that fucking rage, because it befuddles all of us in this studio that it's not there. And that tells me you've stuffed it down. And the truth is you have every right to feel it, because we all do. Because what she did was heinous, and did again and did again. All right? Mm-hmm. And all of that stuff needs to come out. Why? Because the more we flush out the emotion and all the real feelings, the clearer we are. Mm-hmm. It's not just stronger, we're clearer. We begin to hear our own voice, and we begin to trust it.
Yes, sir.
Sarina, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And I know that the more you begin to trust that voice, you're going to have a brilliant life. The more you begin to believe in yourself and that you're going to be okay. And it is scary to start alone. I have so many people, men and women, and non-binary folk. I have plenty of people who have to start over, and it's scary as fuck. But once you sort of get your legs under you, once you sort of get used to it, it's like being on a new base or a new assignment. You're learning shit, and you start, it's a little scary, a little nervous. What's the chain of command, et cetera, but you begin to get oriented, and it's like, fuck, I can do this. All right. Yeah, you're going to have to grieve the death of a relationship if you choose to walk away. You may end up losing the dogs, or maybe you won't. Or maybe you'll get the house. You don't fucking know. Or maybe you'll get money from the house. Maybe this, maybe that. You don't fucking know. But the more you acquire information, the clearer your path will become. But especially the more you flush out your feelings, the more you will have clarity, and the more you will have the confidence to act on it. And it's the readiness to start over. Because let me tell you, even though you feel like life is this fucking misery at 26, and I've been there at 26, I get it. I was in a suicidal depression at 26. I get it. Your life is still so young. You have so much life ahead of you, Sarina. You don't see it. We all do. You've got so much life ahead of you. But you got to begin to get out all this pain that's inside you, and trust your own voice more and more. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Sarina. And I just wish you only the very best. And I would ask that you please check back regularly with the show here, because we want to know how you're doing, okay?
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good rest of your night.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for your service, Sarina.
Of course. Thank you. See you later.
And that was Sarina. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the Badass Counseling Show. I need from you, Rob, final thoughts.
Yeah, that was a really tough one. I mean, the song lyric goes, after all, it's what we've done that makes us what we are. But so often on our show with our guests, it's what was done to us that makes us what we are. But the good news is you can do something about that if you have the courage.
I'm reminded, speaking of song lyrics, I'm reminded of the song by the Moody Blues. And all the love you've been giving was always meant for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? All right. Well, to everyone listening in around the world, thank you for tuning into this episode. Wow, powerful, powerful stuff. And we send only the best to Sarina. On behalf of my team here, have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.